Welcome to the Structural MD Podcast, episode number 11. I'm your host, James Hilgis. Real quick before we jump into the podcast, a couple housekeeping items as always. The show notes can be found at structural-md.com/P001. Also, as you can tell, I'm a little bit stuffed up. I got a little bit of a head cold, but I'd like to keep these podcasts rolling out on a weekly basis, so gotta suck it up and deal with it and just get right into it. Today, we're not going to cover a 3D printing process. We're not going to cover a 3D printing printer. We're not going to cover any hardware. We're going to cover some software. Software called GrabCAD made by Stratus. GrabCAD comes in a package. It's much like Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office comes with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Project, and all sorts, Outlook, and other programs like that. GrabCAD has the same idea. It comes with 3 different programs: Print, Community, and Workbench. First, let's cover GrabCAD Print. This is more geared towards engineers, manufacturers, and suppliers. The problem with additive manufacturing when it came out was the process to go from concept to physical model was cumbersome. Now, what I mean is, yes, 3D printing was better than the traditional methods of generating a product. However, the new methods were better than the old, but they still had flaws within themselves. So there was a lot of complex software involved, and there was limited collaboration tools. In addition, going from CAD to the STL file, which is what most printers read to print, you had to do a lot of model repair tools. There was a lot of errors that would occur when you did that export from CAD and import to an STL file, and you would have to go in and manually fix those errors so your print didn't come up messed up. Now also, a lot of people generated homegrown printer monitoring or scheduling apps. So there was no real convenient way to monitor your printers for material levels when the print was complete, if errors had occurred, or scheduling apps. And obviously, if you own a printer, you'd like to use it 24/7, 365 as best you can. So if you could schedule prints to end when someone would be around to remove the one print and then get the next print started, that's awesome. You don't want prints ending at 2 in the morning when there's going to be 4, 6, maybe even 8 hours of downtime on your printer. You want to keep that printer running because that's generating revenue for you or pushing projects further down the pipeline or whatever that may be. But we all know in a business sense that letting a printer sit there idle with your completed project in it for hours at a time, it's not good for your bottom line. The solution, it's GrabCAD Print. So a couple of features or facets of the program itself. It's a smoother 3D printing workflow. So you can go directly from a CAD model to print. And real quick, just in case you're very new to 3D printing, CAD stands for Computer Aided Design or Drafting. You can look at it either way you want. It really doesn't matter. Tomato, tomato, 6 one, half dozen the other. Going from CAD to print greatly saves time from converting and fixing those STL files that you used to have to deal with in the old sense. In addition, you're also able to have a print preview. And with this, you can have detailed views of the model you're going to print. You can have detailed views of the print tray. So if the printer is going to print many different models at once because there's room within the build volume, you can see that. You can see the slice preview for how each individual layers are sliced up. Awesome stuff. In addition, you're able to get more from your printers. Like I mentioned, now you can organize your print queues. You can schedule your printers to end when someone is going to be around and get an estimated job duration. That way, you can schedule a 12-hour print, which will end at 8 o'clock in the morning, so someone will be there, versus scheduling the 6-hour print to start, and that print is going to finish at 1, 2 in the morning. In addition, you're also able to monitor material levels. So you can do this remotely now. Now you don't have to be next to the printer checking the material levels every hour or whatever you used to do at every interval to see, how much powder we got left. You don't want to run out of material in the middle of a print. And also, you don't want to have to stand there and babysit your printer or constantly have a timer or keep going to check and make sure the material is there. Now you can get notifications. And that's a questionable benefit. Our phones already have enough notifications. You got your email and your calendar and Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, text messages, voicemails. The list goes on and on and on. But you can get notifications from GrabCAD Print. Obviously, if you have a 3D printer, I think that's kind of important for you. You can get print complete notifications. You can get errors, monitor material levels, making your printer more functional and the process less cumbersome and more convenient. That's what life is all about. That's what technology is all about. The second part is the GrabCAD community. This is kind of like any forum or community or support that comes with a lot of programs nowadays. So you have access to a library of existing CAD files, so perhaps you don't have to go and recreate a 5/16 by 6-inch long hex head bolt and things of that nature. You're also able to get tutorials, and you can download those tutorials. You're also able to have access to a message board where you can ask and answer questions. The third and final part of GrabCAD is Workbench. This works well with engineers, suppliers, and partners. Within GrabCAD Workbench, teams can manage, share, and view CAD files. In addition, multiple people can be in the same file without interference. This is awesome. Nobody likes getting that read-only notification because Steve in the office or Steve in the other country, because we're going to a global economy, is in the CAD file you are also trying to access. Now you guys can both be in it, and you don't have to kick Steve out, and Steve has to go work on something else when you really both need to be in there working on the model car you're generating for your project. In addition, like I said, everything is going to that global economy to where you don't just work with people that are in your office, you work with people around the country, around the world, so you can sync your local files to a cloud. Basically, that's like Dropbox. The other nice feature is this can work with all major CAD platforms. Now, I'm not going to run through the list of the major CAD platforms. Yes, there's Autodesk Inventor and SolidWorks, and there's some I haven't even heard of myself. But you can get the full list along with all of the other show notes at structural-md.com/P011. It's great with stakeholders because they can view the model without a CAD license. Chances are your partners, your executives, or the people that you're doing the project for, they don't have a CAD license. That's why they came to you. But maybe you want to show them the model. And in the past, it'd be rather difficult. You'd probably have to export it or take screen clippings of it and send it to them. Or if you could, travel to their office. That's cumbersome. It's a pain in the butt. Technology is supposed to make things easier. Now, they can view the CAD model themselves without having to have a license, which is awesome because those licenses are not very cheap. You also don't ever lose a file version. So the app will sync and track all of the versions created. Your team will be updated when a new version is created. They'll be notified. And you can restore a file or the entire assembly to any point in time. For example, say John deleted the doors off your car and put some new doors on it. You don't like those doors. Those are the wrong doors. Those doors are supposed to go on car B, not car A. And instead of having to go through and delete those doors and then put in the new doors and then recreate those associations with the hinges and all that, you can just go back to the model that was existed the night before John made that accidental mistake. And the last feature is you can reuse past work. So you can use search filters and reuse prior project assemblies. For example, maybe those doors on car A are also going to be used on truck C for whatever reason. And then now, instead of having to go recreate those doors, you can find them and bring them into that model. In addition, you can also set up a common parts library. This is great for things like bolts, washers, nuts, things that really get used on almost every model that are very common. Now you can use that single part in multiple designs without having to recreate that bolt, that washer, that nut for each model. You're also able to work inside of the CAD program, upload and download, resolve conflicts using plugins, all great stuff that makes our lives much easier. Teams can keep their conversations within the files. How awesome is that? Now you don't have to go to Outlook or your email and reference this CAD model in this little section and have this email conversation. You can do it within the file, so it keeps everything more congruent. Now you're not clicking between screens and trying to reference things, and John said it was this part on this assembly. You can see how this gets really confusing really quickly. You're able to share with stakeholders with a click. Simply send them the link. You can also easily generate a bill of materials. Wow. How awesome is GrabCAD? This makes our life so much easier. 3D printing already made our life easier, but it wasn't good enough. And now we came out with GrabCAD that makes it even easier. The links to GrabCAD and some videos from GrabCAD will be in the show notes. Those show notes are at structural-md.com/P011. If you guys have any further questions, if there's someone you'd like me to interview, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, by all means, leave it in the comments. My social media links are also in the show notes. You can send me a message on there. I'll be sure to respond as soon as possible. And I look forward to hearing from you guys on podcast episode number 012.